Nathan Vosburg, candidate for District 3. Tonight, I would like to address on a few items. First and foremost, I would like to bring attention to how much water these construction companies that are building on Worth and Expansion and Pacific Apartments may be using. I spoke with a gentleman that told me that they are pulling 4,000 gallons every 20 minutes when they're using it. He says they're using it in order to compact the sand. He works out there, that's what he does. And he says, as they're putting water on the ground and compacting it, the whole town looks like hell. And I was like, yep. And he said, you know, it's amazing that other surrounding towns aren't in the same boat as you are. I said, 4,000 gallons every 20 minutes. Now, obviously, they aren't pulling that all day long, but I'd like to know how much water that equals. And the reason is because we keep hearing the state hospital and the industrial places can't conserve. So that falls on the residents. I heard that from Sean. That makes, guess what? The residents are tired of that. They're tired of hearing that. That's not right. You're going to allow industry and you're going to promote development at the same time that you're going to tell people they can't water and that they're going to get fined. Well, let me tell you, when those construction companies are using that water, pulling that obsessive amount, what happens is once we're out, we're going to have to buy more, which means the people are going to have to pay for that. That's not fair. That's wrong. The next item that I want to talk about is 5.5 for staff to restrict turf on new developments. I completely disagree with this. I think this goes to Mayor Ramsey's statement of the town's going to blow away. I think it's a horrible idea. I think people already don't want to come here, and people are going to want to leave when you do that. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think that's a horrible idea. I think you need to fight for water. That's what you need to do. You need to fight for water. Number 5.13, surrounding the surplus sale. I'm actually super surprised this is on consent. I am so surprised that selling the garden is on consent calendar. That's ridiculous. And let me tell you, I want to know who has read the Surplus Land Act out of any of you. Who's read it? Who's read the Successor Agency Dissolution Act? And who has read the HSC guidelines? Because I have. It took a lot of time to read all that, and you guys are voting on this tonight. You should all be aware of it. Guess what? There is reasons to sell this property, but there are also ways to keep it as a garden. There are. It's hard. It's going to take work. It's possible. I know. You can ask the attorney when you're in closed session or whatever. Ask him. There's ways to do this. You can keep this property. There's ways. The city could buy it. One of the things specifically about this is local agencies may acquire surplus property for open space, public parks, development of locally government-owned facilities, or affordable housing. Local agencies pay fair market value determined by the DGS approved by appraisal. Property that is acquired for parks or open space may be sold at less than the fair market value. Now that's only dealing with the surplus part of it. There's also the housing part of it that's the real pain in the butt that Newsom put in. But there's workarounds. There's all kinds of ways that you can work around this. I don't think it's fair that it's just going to go on consent with all the thousands of dollars and thousands of man hours that people put in on this garden. I just don't, I think that's really unfair. It's not fair at all. People spent months on that garden. I personally spent lots of times. My son did his Eagle Scout project there, and this is on consent. What? How? That's not fair. That's not right. That's basically telling everyone, hey, we're not even going to discuss this item. And for the idea that this is something you have to do, this is another thing that comes from city staff, that if council would read these items and actually do your own homework, you would find out there's ways to do this other than what city staff are saying. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nathan.